You can trace the origin of SpaceX back to a conversation I had with a friend of mine at ARSC, who was actually my college housemate at Penn. And we were on the Long Island Expressway, and we're talking about, he asked me what I'm going to do after PayPal. And I thought, well, I always liked space, but I don't think there's anything that I could do as an individual in space because it's a province of governments and billions of dollars and stuff like that. But I know now. I know that the original plan was to go to Mars after the moon. So I thought I'd just go to the NASA website and find out when that's going to happen. Yeah. Yeah. So when the NASA website, there was no mention of Mars. I was like, well, it's got to be here somewhere. So it was nowhere to be found. In fact, manned mission to Mars had been banned from NASA. I was shocked to learn. So I thought, well, maybe there's some philanthropic mission, some sort of something that would catch the public interest that would result in the public wanting us to go to Mars, rekindling public interest in manned missions to Mars. And that's where I conducted a sort of feasibility study, pricing and technological feasibility of doing a small mission to Mars. Looked at a few possibilities. Eventually, I thought, well, the most feasible and affordable one would be to deliver a small greenhouse to the surface of Mars, like about a meter in diameter, with seeds and dehydrated nutrient gel. It would hydrate upon landing and grow the plants. And then you'd have this. I think you get quite a lot of public interest from that because the public likes precedents and superlatives. So this would be the furthest that life's ever traveled, the first life on Mars, first life on any other planet that we're aware of, and you'd have this great money shot of green plants on a red background. So that seemed like it would generate a lot of interest. So I hired a bunch of consultants of various types to help me figure out how to do this, and we're able to get the cost of the non-launch portion cost down to a pretty low number, sort of $7 or $8 million. Now this is like really using commercial components, taking a lot of risks and all that, but maybe $7 or $8 million per spacecraft. I thought we needed to do two because what if one blew up? That would really suck. So if we could get the non-launch portions of the thing down to maybe $7 or $8 million, and it's like, so then I started looking for the cost of the rocket. Domestically, it was completely infeasible because a Delta II, which is the smallest rocket that could possibly do the mission, was like $65 million. So that was a lot of philanthropy, too much for me. And particularly if you want to do two missions, like hell, it's like $130 million. So I went to Russia a couple times, 3 times, to look at buying a refurbished ICBM, from the NEPR, basically. But the pricing that they wanted for the thing was also still too high. And after the third time I visited them, I started, along the way, I started reading about rockets, and I was studying more about what it took to develop one. And after the third trip back, I said, well, I'd like to look at, what I came to realize is that the real fundamental barrier was the cost of transportation. If you could get the cost of transportation low, then we would be doing a lot more in space. And so I said, well, essentially, the sort of problem transitioned in my mind from there being this idea that, if there's a will, there's a way, to being actually to being the opposite. That it seems to me that there was plenty of will for space exploration. But if people thought there was no way it could be accomplished, they're not going to bang their head on a wall for no reason. So it's really, if there's a way, there's plenty of will, it seemed to me. So the question was really about making a way. So flip from building will to building way. So then I looked at what it would take to build a rocket in the U.S. and whether it's possible to make substantial cost improvements. And had a series of meetings with key engineers from the space world, and said, okay, I don't see any fundamental barrier to reducing the cost beyond substantially below what is currently the case, and so started SpaceX.
As far as from an entrepreneurship standpoint, how do you think just like having so much funding backing yourself and starting SpaceX with that can you talk about like how that's been advantageous? Maybe not having like a board of directors to answer to all the time when certain things go wrong with SpaceX.
Yeah, it's certainly helpful. Well, first of all, I mean, since I was a successful entrepreneur before SpaceX, I could have raised money. I mean, I could raise money for a bloody cheese factory if I wanted. You know, they'd be like, okay, you know, he's never done a cheese factory before, but he knows how to build businesses. So, and I could have raised money, but it would have been quite difficult nonetheless, because rockets are so far outside the comfort zone of venture capitalists. You know, they're just, I mean, it sounds crazy to them. So, I would have had to devote a lot of personal effort towards raising money. And if we did have a board of directors that I had to answer to, it would also be a big distraction, take up a lot of time. Not impossible, but certainly take up a lot of time. So, yeah, certainly advantageous to fund it personally. You know, I'm actually the chief designer of the rocket, which sounds wacky, but I kind of fell into that by accident because I couldn't find anyone. But I was able to bring on early on a very good guy to head up propulsion, a good structures guy, a good avionics guy. So as far as the subsystems were concerned, I had very experienced, competent people. Try to hire someone to be the chief designer. Was unsuccessful in doing so, and so I ended up having to do that role myself. Question was, how was I able to convince leading rocket engineers to leave big companies and a comfortable job to join SpaceX? I should ask them how I was able to convince them, because I'm not. So this is totally speculative and maybe different answer for different people. But the fact that I've been successful with two companies beforehand, I think, was very helpful. If I'd just been some random dude who said, "Let's start a rocket company," I wouldn't have got very far. But having started one company right out of college, sold it for $300 million, started another company right after that, sold it for $1.5 billion. That's a nice trajectory, So that seems that says, okay, the dude must have some business acumen, and I'm a very technical guy, so I mean, they were able to talk details of technology, and they knew that I wouldn't make them do something stupid. So I think that was helpful, and they were also, I think, somewhat frustrated in their jobs at the big companies because they'd spent so much time working on some program and years, and maybe it'd see flight, maybe it wouldn't. It's very frustrating. And it wasn't that I could recruit anyone from any company. As I said, I wasn't able to recruit somebody to be the overall chief designer of the vehicle. I tried. Try to recruit. Well, first of all, I can only recruit from the bloody U.S. So, and there's only a few rockets that have been designed in recent memory. So there's like 5 people you could try to recruit. I tried to recruit all 5, and I couldn't get them. So it's not like I had a perfect batting average in recruiting people. Far from it. I think we're getting to the stage 6 years on where now we're profitable. Revenue last year was over $100 million, where we are able to recruit people because they can now say, okay, this thing's probably going to survive, and do well. So our ability to recruit people from the big companies has increased dramatically. But certainly it was very difficult in the beginning.